absolutely have to.
My goodness.
Talk about the post-game interview.
Oh, my gosh.
With Kenny Dillingham.
Oh, my goodness.
And the fans, the students behind him storming the field. And he's asked, what does this mean to you? You're an alum. And he goes, I was one of these guys. And then he just starts partying and jumping up and down. This is your head football coach. This is your football coach that has led this team to a 5-1 record. And they will now be ranked after what happened last season and what everybody said they would be. They've defied all odds.
Brother, there is no coach in college football that you would rather have in Tempe right now.
No, zero.
Like, I understand there's the Kirby Smarts. I understand there's the Dan Lannings, whatever. Kenny Dillingham is one of one. He said on Monday at his press conference, he was asked point blank, like, did you ever think about doing it different? Right? Doing what all the other coaches do, right? Because Kenny carries himself differently than everybody else in college football. And he said, you know what? I gave that a shot. I gave it a shot at another school, maybe 6 months. And then I realized that is just not me. That's not who I am. So when you have a coach that embraces 100% who he is, and that vibe carries over to the locker room, and you allow those players to be who they are, and they all take that field together with that same mentality, with that same ideology, it's tough to beat. You saw it tonight. You saw it in multiple games this season. This is an Arizona State team like we haven't seen in quite some time. And yes, that post-game interview was absolutely phenomenal. But I think that post-game interview, we can sum up the last calendar year. Right? Because this meant something. This meant something to Kenny. This meant something to the fans. This meant something to the players. This meant something to everybody that watched that game.
Yeah.
Arizona State last year lost to Utah 55-3. 55-3, Eric. We did a post-game show early, before that game even finished last year. And now here you are, a year later, and you knocked off number 16 Utah with a Cam Rising, who we'll talk about later, didn't look like Cam Rising. Micah Bernard did everything that he possibly could to shoulder the load for the Utes tonight. It wasn't enough. Utah, if I'm remembering what the broadcast had said accurately, Utah had more plays on Arizona State's side of the field than they did not. And Arizona State still won this game.
There's so much about the game that I want to get into. I think one last thing, just talking about Dillingham that you mentioned. Kenny's a lot of things. He is a football freak. He's a genius when it comes to schematics. He's a genius when it comes to breaking down the play, when it comes to building coaches around him. He's a genius when it comes to building a culture and building a community.
Yeah.
But the most important thing about Kenny Dillingham, the reason why Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State University has worked and will continue to work for a long, long time is because Kenny Dillingham is authentic. In an era of college football that's full of fake scams and promises and lies and hopping around and telling people things that you just don't mean, players are flocking to authenticity. And they're coming to Arizona State University for a reason.
For that guy.
And it's only year 2.
We all silly like the mayor.